I said I'ma ride for my netter, my netter. Most likely I'ma die for my netter, my netter. I've been running outside all day with my netter, and I ain't going in unless I'm with my netter, 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 my netter. Hey, first things first, I love all my netters.
Netter, perhaps one of the most important, if not the most important word in the ancient Kemetic language. The word netter is so important that it is even part of the name of the ancient Kemetic language, mdw-nTr. The word netter is often translated as meaning God, but could also have meanings associated with divinity, deity, and powers and forces in nature. The symbol for netter is number R8 in Sir Alan Gardner's signless compilation of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, and represents the trilateral root NTR, where the underlying T represents the TCH or TJ sound, which is why you sometimes see netter spelled in English as NTR, NETR, NETHER, NETJER, and NETCHER. Netter is actually the masculine form of the word, and the feminine form of the word would be nettert, with a T at the end, and the plural form of the word would be netterut. However, as important as the word netter is, there's still controversy as to what the hieroglyphic symbol for netter actually is. There are two schools of thought on what the symbol is. One interpretation says that the symbol is a flag or a cloth on a pole, and the other interpretation says the symbol is an axe or a hatchet. Let's explore the reasons for both interpretations. First, the flag on the pole interpretation basically says that the R8 symbol in Sir Alan Gardner's signless compilation of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics is a flag or a cloth wound on a pole. The flag on the pole argument was championed by early Egyptologists like Sir Alan Gardner. People who argue this point go on to talk about how flags were used to mark shrines of deceased people in the pre-dynastic period, and how these flags also decorated the fronts of temples and holy buildings. And since flags on poles signified something important, this is how the symbol of a flag on a pole became the symbol associated with signifying divine forces of nature or God. However, due to the force of gravity, another force of nature, due to the force of gravity, a flag on a pole would not look like the depiction of Sir Alan Gardner's symbol R8, right? The cloth part would be pointing down. So in order for the flag portion to be extended like you see in the glyph for netter, it also would imply that there's wind blowing, right? To make that flag part extended, because otherwise gravity would make the flag portion of it fall down. So people who argue that the symbol for netter is a flag on a pole, they go on to talk about how that it's not simply a flag on a pole, but it's a flag on a pole blowing in the wind. And the unseen force, the wind, which causes the cloth part to extend, since the unseen is an ancient Egyptian netter, Amun, who represented the unseen, and the wind, Shu, is an ancient Egyptian netter, then this is more evidence of why this symbol for netter is actually a flag on a pole, because in order for the flag part to be extended, you would have to have two netteru, or two forces of nature, acting on that cloth for it to appear like the glyph. So that's the flag on the pole argument. The other argument is that the symbol is an axe or a hatchet. So now let's go into the axe or hatchet interpretation of the netter symbol. So the interpretation that the symbol is an axe or a hatchet is actually coming from Egyptologists like E.A. Wallace Budge, and also other writers like Albert Churchwall, who both say that the symbol for netter in ancient Egypt was actually an axe or a hatchet. This interpretation says that the reason why the axe or hatchet tool became associated with God or divinity, or the symbol that is often translated as God, is that the axe or hatchet was extremely important in pre-dynastic times and to primordial Africans for survival, because it was a tool that could be used for building, hunting, and agriculture, but could also be used as a weapon in times of war. The qualities and characteristics of the one who wielded the axe had to be powerful, precise, and balanced. All of these are attributes and characteristics of a netter. You had to be powerful, precise, and balanced in order for the tool to be effective. So it's easy to see how the axe or hatchet could have become a symbol for physical force, strength, and represent dominion, power, might, and hence divinity. And then there are many axe artifacts that have survived to this day from ancient Kemetic culture. There's the famous battle axe of Ahmose from the 18th dynasty, Ahmose I from the 18th dynasty. There's the battle axe of Baki that's coming from the reign of Thutmose I during the 18th dynasty. There's a model wood axe that's dated to be from the time of Thutmose III. There are also depictions of Ramses II with an axe in his hand, and also depictions of soldiers or hunters wielding axes. For the flag argument, there are depictions from ancient Egyptian and ancient Kemetic culture of flags on poles. However, none of those pictures of flags on poles resemble the actual symbol for Neter. There's a painting of a pylon from the tomb of Peneshi, and you see the flags in the front of the pylon, and they are pointing downward, and there's even a ripple to them, signifying that they were blowing in the wind. So these flags in this depiction don't look like the Neter symbol. So the Neter hieroglyph symbol resembles the ancient Egyptians' depiction of an axe more than it resembles the ancient Egyptians' depiction of the flag. In my opinion, I feel like the flag or pole interpretation for the Neter symbol is rooted in a mindset that I tend to reject. And that mindset is one that interprets the various objects and statues in African culture as a whole as merely fetishes or trinkets just used merely for cult and ceremonial rituals and had no practical purpose or function. A flag is essentially another fetish. It's another cult object. It has no real practical purpose. Personally, I tend to lean towards the interpretation that the Neter symbol was an axe because it was a tool that was practical in application for survival and well-being, and it is relevant to science, technology, engineering, and math. Again, an axe is a tool, and a tool is a technology. If I was in nature and I had to survive and someone said, "Oh, I'll give you a flag on a pole or I'll give you an axe or a hatchet, which one will you roll with?" I'm like, give me the axe or hatchet. After I build my house and make my food and plant my crops with this axe or hatchet, I can make a flag on a pole, you know what I mean? So in my opinion, I lean towards the interpretation that the symbol for Neter is an axe or a hatchet. So what say you? What's your opinion? Is the symbol for Neter an axe? Is the symbol for Neter a flag on a pole? Which interpretation makes more sense to you? And so we have some Neter t-shirts, hoodies, and baseball shirts on the African Creation Energy Spreadshirt store. The link to the African Creation Energy Spreadshirt store is also in the description. So thank you for your time and attention. Hotep. Peace.